It's hard to understand what's going on. I mean, I really, one minute you feel like, oh my gosh, this is going to be, now the landslide's going to start. And then there'll be some other weaselly little, sidestep they do. Or you can make a bad decision about a candidate. It's not who you are. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It doesn't mean you're different. It doesn't mean, the trouble with what's happening right now is these, this administration is a rabid dog, and it's turning us upside down. And all, as far as I'm concerned, it's as obvious as the nose on your face.
Trump just threw the biggest tantrum you've ever seen after Jim Carrey and Jimmy Kimmel roasted his marriage on live TV. The comedians compared Melania to a Wi-Fi signal in a storm that keeps disappearing whenever there's trouble. You won't believe what Trump posted in response. While most presidents can take a joke, our former commander-in-chief went full toddler mode, proving once again he has the thinnest skin in politics. Stick around to see exactly what set him off. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. For a guy who claims to be the toughest president in history, Donald Trump sure has the thinnest skin in the political game. This man can throw insults at anyone, from foreign leaders to disabled reporters. But the second someone cracks a joke about his spray tan, he turns into a raging toddler whose toy just got taken away.
Carry operation, even though she didn't have security clearance. Only Donald Trump would call his wife in to watch a top secret mission like it was a TikTok of a baby hippo or something. Today, there's another new tell-all book on the way from legendary journalist Bob Woodward. Trump, as you may recall, hated Woodward's previous 3 Trump books. Woodward is a total sleazebag who has lost it mentally, and he's slow, lethargic, incompetent, and overall a boring person with no personality. There's some extra crispy McNuggets in this one, including a few gems from one of Trump's most loyal underlickers, Senator Lindsey Graham, who said going to Mar-a-Lago is a little bit like going to North Korea.
Remember when Trump was so bothered by Alec Baldwin's SNL impression that he actually suggested the show should face retribution and called it a real scandal that should be investigated? Normal presidents might chuckle or shrug off comedy sketches, but not our fragile former commander-in-chief. He literally wanted to investigate a comedy show for making jokes in America. Let that sink in. His Truth Social, thy tantrums have become as predictable as his bizarre hairstyle. A comedian makes a joke, and within hours, Trump is rage typing in all caps about unfair treatment and how the show has terrible ratings and is not funny anymore. The ratings obsession is particularly telling. It's like his only measure of worth is Nielsen numbers, which, let's be honest, is pretty on brand for a reality TV star who never really graduated beyond that mentality. When Michelle Wolf roasted his administration at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Trump didn't even have the courage to show up. He was the first president in decades to skip the event, twice. Apparently his ego is more delicate than a souffle in an earthquake. And let's not forget how he boycotted Fox News when they dared to criticize him, threatening to take his ball and go home unless they played nice. What's really wild is comparing Trump to other presidents who handled comedy with actual grace. Obama sat through Keegan-Michael Key's anger translator routine with a smile. George W. Bush laughed when comedians mocked his speech patterns. Even Richard Nixon, not exactly known for his sunny disposition, went on laughing and delivered the famous "sock it to me" line. These men understood that being able to laugh at yourself is part of leadership. But Trump, the man appears physically incapable of self-deprecating humor. Has anyone ever seen him genuinely laugh at himself? That inability speaks volumes about his insecurity. Psychologists say that people who can't take jokes about themselves often suffer from profound self-doubt, compensating with grandiose behaviors and claims. Sound familiar?
I can break bread with anybody in this country. I love people in this country. I love the heartland of this country. It has nothing to do with that. These really negative forces like the Steve Bannons of the world are convincing us that we're separate, that we're not the same country, that there's 2 countries. There's not 2 countries. It has to do with, it's become obvious that the choice was a bad one. We just need to change it. And if you can't vote for a Democrat, at least let all this flood of information that's so negative.
His favorite defense mechanism is always the same: attack the messenger. When Stephen Colbert's ratings soared after mocking Trump, the then president called him a no-talent guy and claimed Colbert was dying before he started targeting Trump. It never occurs to him that comedians mock him because he's genuinely ridiculous, not because they need rating boosts. The presidency is supposed to come with some self-awareness, but Trump seems to have missed that memo entirely. And let's talk about his obsession with unfair treatment. Trump has complained endlessly about Saturday Night Live being unfair, while conveniently forgetting he happily hosted the show when it benefited him. The hypocrisy is as thick as the makeup caked on his face. He wants all the benefits of fame without any of the scrutiny that comes with it, especially when that scrutiny comes in joke form. What makes comedy particularly effective against Trump is that humor strips away the power he tries so desperately to project. When people laugh at you, they're not afraid of you. And for a man whose entire political strategy revolves around intimidation, that's devastating. It's why dictators throughout history have outlawed political satire. It's kryptonite to strongmen. Comedy might be kryptonite to strongmen, but what Kimmel and Carrey cooked up was nuclear-grade humor that left Trump's ego in tatters. When two of America's comedy heavyweights decided to aim their jokes at the bizarre spectacle of Trump's marriage, even his supporters couldn't help squirming in their seats. The setting was Kimmel's late-night show, a familiar battleground where the host has never hidden his contempt for Trump's presidency. But this time, he brought reinforcements. Jim Carrey, master of physical comedy and facial contortions, joined forces with Kimmel to create what can only be described as a presidential roast so brutal it should have come with a warning label. Kimmel kicked things off by addressing the audience with surgical precision. He didn't just go after the obvious targets, Trump's weird hair or orange complexion, though those certainly made appearances. Instead, he zeroed in on something much more personal, the awkward public displays between Donald and Melania. Have you noticed how Melania's smile disappears faster than Trump's tax returns whenever he turns away? Kimmel asked as the audience roared. It's like watching a Wi-Fi signal in a storm. Now you see it, now you don't.
The book says Trump has spoken to Vladimir Putin 7 times since he left office, which is less than Ivanka but more than Tiffany. It's right in there. The book has some stories about our current president, too. Joe Biden, in private, refers to Trump as that effing a-hole, which tracks. Of Bibi Netanyahu, Biden said, that son of a bitch, he's a bad guy, he's a bad effing guy. Right now, the book is ranked number 17 on Amazon, and despite the fact that it just came out, even has reviews. Here's one of the reviews. J Love gives it 5 stars, says, wonderful, this was the best book I've ever read.
The audience's reaction amplified everything, their laughter and applause creating a feedback loop that seemed to energize both comedians. Even folks who'd previously defended Trump were caught on camera chuckling at the marriage mockery. Nothing hurts a narcissist more than becoming the butt of a joke that everyone's in on. Carrey, being the physical comedy genius he is, took things to another level. He didn't just tell jokes about Trump, he became a distorted version of him. Standing up mid-interview, Carrey launched into an impromptu impersonation that portrayed Trump as what Kimmel later described as a malfunctioning fax machine from 1987. Carrey's face contorted into impossible expressions, his body jerking and twitching as he mimicked Trump's speech patterns and mannerisms. "Look at me, I'm the greatest president ever," Carrey squawked in his Trump voice, while his body performed a bizarre pantomime of a man trying to hold in a fart during an important meeting. "Melania loves me. She loves me so much she can't keep her hands off me. Did you notice how she always tries to hold my hand? No? That's because it never happens."
Makes me feel good.
When you were a kid, would you draw caricatures of your friends, etc.?
I did. I drew pictures of my teacher.
Oh, really?
And I don't have any of those with me. She actually stole. Wow, look at this! I can do anything with it. Not working. Oh, they got you coming and going, man. You know what I mean?
That is remarkable, I have to say.
Incredible transformation.
It is an incredible transformation. Who was the teacher
Watch
you drew?
this.
Oh, yeah, all right.
The mockery extended beyond just the marriage, though that remained the central target. Kimmel dissected Trump's golf game, the only thing he cheats on more than his wives, his diet. I hear the White House chef had to hide vegetables in his food like he's a 5-year-old, and his physical appearance with jokes that cut deeper than mere surface observations. What made this roast particularly devastating was how it presented Melania not as a villain, but as something closer to a reluctant hostage in a political horror show. Kimmel highlighted her robotic demeanor and distant public appearances, questioning whether she genuinely wanted any part of Trump's presidency. You can actually see her calculating the terms of her prenup in real time whenever he reaches for her hand, Kimmel joked. The comedians created a masterclass in political satire by exposing the contradictions in Trump's carefully constructed image. Here was a man who portrayed himself as an alpha male business titan and ladies' man, yet his own wife seemed to recoil from his touch on camera. The comedy wasn't just funny, it was revealing. It pulled back the curtain on a marriage that looked more like a business arrangement than a loving partnership. Carrey's physical impersonation brought Trump's absurdity to life in ways that mere words couldn't. His exaggerated expressions and movements weren't just comedy for comedy's sake. They exposed the hypocrisy and artifice of Trump's entire existence. The audience wasn't just laughing at jokes, they were laughing at the recognition of truth behind the comedy. The collaboration between these two comedy veterans wasn't a random occurrence. Both have used their platforms to criticize Trump's presidency, turning political absurdity into comedy gold. But this particular segment felt different, more focused, more devastating, and more likely to get under Trump's notoriously thin skin. Those devastating jokes didn't just disappear into the late-night airwaves, they tunneled straight into Trump's phone where his thumbs were already twitching with rage. Within hours of the Kimmel-Carrey segment airing, Trump's social media accounts erupted like a volcano of insecurity, spewing hot nonsense all over the internet, and just like that, the comedian's point about his fragile ego was proven correct faster than you can say presidential meltdown.
You got to speak, man. This is not a time to clam up, and not a time to get frightened. You have to do what you have to do. This is dire. I just want to express it in a positive way. I want to turn everything painful into art.
You react to the pipe bombs. Are you afraid personally ever?
Apparently I was threatened on Twitter, so I don't know. I didn't see the thing. I heard there was some severed goat head, and I'll see you soon kind of thing.
Trump's response came in classic Trump fashion, a barrage of posts that read like they were typed by someone having a conniption fit while falling downstairs. His immediate reaction featured the hallmark all-caps rants we've come to expect when someone bruises his ego. Jimmy Kimmel is a loser dud, he thundered into the digital void, presumably while stress-eating a hamburger with his free hand. The funniest part? Trump claimed he didn't watch the segment, but then proceeded to critique specific jokes from it. It's like saying you didn't eat the cookies while chocolate is smeared all over your face. His contradictory statements revealed exactly what the comedians were poking fun at: his transparent insecurity and inability to ignore even the slightest criticism. His posts were a masterclass in childish insults, calling both Kimmel and Carrey losers who would be standing on the sidewalk begging for his attention. Imagine being a former president of the United States and responding to jokes with, "I know you are, but what am I?" level comebacks. It would be sad if it wasn't so hilariously predictable. What's particularly revealing is how Trump's response focused entirely on irrelevant issues, exactly like a child trying to change the subject when caught red-handed. Instead of addressing the substance of the jokes, he obsessed over ratings and his physical appearance. He complained about his horrible picture being shared and harped on about low ratings, as if television viewership somehow invalidates the humor that clearly struck a nerve. But Trump's meltdown wasn't a one-and-done tantrum. Oh no, like a toddler who's been told they can't have ice cream for breakfast. His rage extended over several days. Each post became increasingly unhinged, with threats of legal action against the comedians becoming part of his standard playbook. Nothing says I'm totally not bothered by those jokes, quite like threatening to sue the people who made them, right?
Melania shares some of her very best anecdotes in the book. There's a passage about that time in 2019, her husband called her in to watch a classified military. Melania claims she didn't condemn the violence on January 6th because she was busy going over White House renovations that day. Hello, Donald, what are you wearing? The other big Trump book, Melania's memoir, came out today. It's called Melania, it's named after her. Proceeds from sales of the book are going to one of Melania's favorite charities, Body Doubles for Conjugal Visits. Very good book.
The response from Trump's supporters was equally telling. They amplified his outrage across social media platforms, creating a feedback loop of indignation. His followers shared and reshared his posts, reinforcing a narrative of victimization that's become the backbone of Trump's political identity. It's amazing how a man who built his brand on telling it like it is and not being politically correct suddenly needs an army of defenders when someone tells jokes at his expense. The contrast between the sophisticated humor employed by Carrey and Kimmel and Trump's elementary school level comebacks couldn't be more stark. While the comedians crafted jokes with setup and punchlines, employing timing and delivery to maximum effect, Trump's responses read like they were written by someone mashing a keyboard with their face. He called their humor both brutal and hilarious in the same tantrum, seemingly unaware of the contradiction, a bit like complimenting the chef while demanding to speak to the manager.
During the height of the pandemic, right around the time Trump was trying to get us to stop testing for COVID because the high numbers were making him look bad, Agent Orange secretly sent his buddy Vlad a shipment of hard-to-get COVID testing machines for his personal use. He said, please don't tell anybody you sent these to me. Trump said, I don't care, fine. And Putin said, I don't want you to tell anybody because people will get mad at you, not me. They don't care about me. I don't want to say Trump was his puppet, but whenever they're in a room together, you never saw more than one of Putin's hands.
The beauty of Trump's reaction is that it inadvertently validated everything the comedians said about him. Their jokes suggested he has thin skin and a fragile ego, and his response was to have a multi-day meltdown that demonstrated exactly those qualities. They joked about his insecurities, and he immediately listed all the reasons he's definitely not insecure. Thank you very much. The comedians essentially set a trap, and Trump not only walked into it, he redecorated it and declared it his new summer home. So what's the deal with comedy being Trump's kryptonite? Unlike policy debates or fact checks, humor strips away his carefully constructed image in seconds. When comedians mock him, they reveal the gap between how he sees himself as this powerful, respected leader and how others see him, a walking, talking parody who can't take a joke. Trump's inability to laugh at himself isn't just an annoying personality trait, it's a serious political weakness. When he explodes after every comedy sketch, he proves the comedians right about his fragile ego. The Carrey Kimmel roast showed how humor cuts through his defenses better than any political attack could. In politics, being thin-skinned is a liability. Other presidents knew this. They smiled through jokes at their expense because they understood something Trump never will. Sometimes the strongest response is simply to laugh along.